He pushed away the pain so hard, he disconnected himself from the person he loved the most. Sometimes when you win, you lose.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
So call me crazy, but I wish Mike Waddell was still a part of MetaZoo. I know he was a complete and utter asshole, and he banned a lot of people and ran the game into the ground, but he was the original creator of this thing. He had a vision for what it was supposed to be, and that very vision is what we all fell in love with. That dark grittiness, right? And sure, it was a bit rough around the edges. Some could even say it was a bit amateur-like in a lot of ways, but there was just something about it, aesthetically speaking, that drew us all in. They gave us that same exact feeling that we all had as children when we first came across Pokemon. And I know I say it all the time because it's so freaking true, but nothing has really come out before MetaZoo and since MetaZoo that's really been able to give me that same exact feeling. And that says a lot because a lot of things come out all the freaking time and nothing even comes close. But if you're here during its heyday, the first several months of MetaZoo's existence, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. They were putting out banger after banger after banger. They couldn't do no wrong. They had the formula for success and they were working overtime. And to be completely honest, we weren't asking for much, but they were delivering on it in spades. But then they tried to do too much. They derailed the train, they sent us off a cliff in a huge explosion, and we were left trying to pick up the pieces. And for the longest time, it didn't really look like anything was going to happen. We'd hear rumblings behind the scenes of somebody possibly buying out the company, but every time something was about to happen, it would just fall through the cracks, because Mike Waddell and Steve Aoki wanted too much money. But then all of a sudden, out of the blue, we hear about this Charlie Hurlocker guy. And now he's putting up this $2.5 million offer to buy MetaZoo and all of its assets. And everybody just went absolutely crazy. Because here's a guy that has all this experience in the field. It's been working with people on Pokemon and Magic the Gathering for the last couple decades. Has all this money to rebound the brand and to take us to the moon for real this time. So I can see why people are excited, right? They're all saying, oh my God, MetaZoo's coming back with a vengeance. He's the perfect person that could have bought this thing. And I was believing in the hype just like everybody else. But at the same exact time, I always had this question in the back of my mind. How much of this is actually going to resemble the MetaZoo of the past, and how much of it's going to be entirely something brand new? And I get it. A lot of people are going to say I'm an idiot if I thought this thing was going to resemble the MetaZoo of the past, because he made it pretty clear during that interview he did with Nick several months ago that they were going to make massive changes, right? Because MetaZoo had an identity crisis. Nobody really knew who it was catered towards. More of the adults like us in our 20s and 30s, or more so the kids, right? Because you had stuff like Chromie's Cryptic Carnival is more childlike, but you had that more dark and grittiness in like Nightfall and Seance. It kind of clashed heads. There wasn't a specific demographic. And I understand Charlie wants this thing to compete with Pokemon, so he'd have to tame some of that back and aim it more towards like younger adults, right? Because that's what Pokemon does. Younger adults grow up to be adults, then they have kids, those kids become adults, they have kids, and your IP goes from generation to generation to generation. So I knew that they were going to make changes here, but he made it clear that they were still going to cater to us OG fans to some extent, right? To kind of give us a blend, right? Just to give us a nice balance. And when I started to see some of this artwork that's been leaking the last couple of months, I started to wonder, is this really going to be MetaZoo? You know what I mean? They brought back a lot of the original artists, which I was super excited about, but a lot of it had like a more modern digital style to it. Some of it was still kind of watercolor-esque, but it didn't have that same feel, that same soul that MetaZoo used to have. So I was already starting to worry a little bit, but I said, you know what, maybe I can dig this. I really want to see the cards first before I really judge it, right? But unfortunately, we didn't see the cards first. The very first thing that leaked was the booster box. And that was when the real red flag showed up, right? Because the moment I saw this thing, I didn't know what the freak I was looking at. It just looked like absolute garbage, guys. Here's this booster box. It looks like it's designed for children ages 6 to 12, right? Like somebody took Ben 10 and tried to combine it with MetaZoo. It just looks super, super cartoony. You got this goofy looking Bigfoot on the box. The Mothman is okay. The Piazza Bird's kind of meh. You got this superhero looking like Monkey King on the front of it. Like, I don't understand what we're doing out here, guys. Compare this to the original Kryptonation 1 booster box. Which one do you want to put on your shelf? It ain't this one, I guarantee it. The old one had character, it was unique, it was hand-drawn, it was nostalgic. This new one is just trash. I don't even care that it doesn't have holo foil on there. Made the booster box is super sexy, but I assume with the base set that they probably wouldn't do that. Nick said the same exact thing. It's fine it doesn't have holo foil, but I don't understand what the frick we're doing. Like, it looks so bad. It looks so freaking bad. So you have all these resources and this team behind you, and this is what you come up with? It looks lazily done. It looks like a knockoff of Pokemon, which is crazy because that was one of the biggest blemishes of MetaZoo in the past, was the fact that they're knocking off Pokemon. You have these symbols underneath the name. It's supposed to be the aura types, but it looks like Pokemon's energies. And somebody actually pointed out the fact that they're using the same backsplash graphic that they used for the commercial breaks of the cartoon back in the day, where they used to say, "Who's that Pokemon?"
Who's that Pokemon?
And they're slapping on the box and the pack arts. The same exact graphic. I don't know if they have access to it, if they have the rights to it, whatever the case may be, they shouldn't be using that. It just looks so freaking bad. And I'm sitting here scratching my head like, what the fuck is this, guys? Like, it's so bad, I don't even like looking at it. Just toss it in the fire and watch that thing burn to the ground, because it doesn't compare to the original box. I just am not a fan of it at all. And the same thing goes for the pack arts. But I said, you know what? That's just the box itself. I'm not a fan of it, but I still want to see the cards. That's what's really going to matter at the end of the day. Because I'm a huge fan of the original layout and design of those OG MetaZoo cards. I just am. They have character. They're unique. I know a lot of people say they're amateur-like, but there's something about it, man, that made them so special. Because you have to remember, they're supposed to be individual pages of a spell book. So they had intricate details like twine going around the borders of the boxes and different textures and stuff that just gave them character, that put a smile on my face every single time I saw them. The same thing goes for the red borders. I know a lot of people say get rid of them, but guess what? Mike Waddell didn't just wake up one morning saying he wanted red borders. He asked the community and they voted on it themselves. And it made the cards pop. You could tell that they were MetaZoo cards from afar. They just screamed MetaZoo, man. They screamed, actual character. But unfortunately now we get rid of that stuff and it just looks so bad. The same thing for the back of the cards. Like, I don't understand what we're doing, right? I get it. There was a pentagram. A lot of people say it's super satanic. I knew that they would probably change that. I'm not stupid. But at the same time, like Tormentic said, just double down and make them look more like spell books. You can get rid of the pentagram aspect of it, but make them look more like spell books. They completely scrapped that. They give us this bland freaking like cookie cutter background now. It looks fine on its own. It's its own TCG. It's okay. But when you compare it to MetaZoo, it just doesn't look good at all, right? It just does not look good at all. There's just no character there. It's just no substance at all. Just no soul. You know what I mean? It's so freaking unfortunate. And the same thing goes for the fronts. Like, you look at the new card designs and it just looks like they're stealing ideas from like Dragon Ball Super with the stars on the bottom, and they look like Lorcana cards. And it looks like it's 5 different TCGs all mashed together with the different full arts and stuff that's going on. It's just an absolute mess. On its own, I guess it's fine again, but it's so bland. It's so soulless. It just looks like any other TCG that comes out these days. And MetaZoo had character, man. It's just something unique about MetaZoo cards, and you just threw all that away now with the new designs. And again, should I be shocked? No. Maybe this appeals to the masses, but to me, I'm not a fan of it. And again, when you put it next to the old cards, I mean, you can't even tell they're the same. I was hoping they look somewhat similar. The only thing that connects them now is just the name itself. So they might not even hold value in the future, you know what I mean, the old cards. So it's just so unfortunate that this is what we're getting. But unfortunately it is, right? And I was hoping that they'd just take what Cryptic Clash was doing, because you got to remember, this game was an absolute mess. They're trying to throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at this damn thing. The barrier to entry was so high with all the symbols you had to memorize. Cryptic Clash was kind of simplifying that, polishing the cards up. I was hoping they'd take a page out of that book and do something very similar so we'd have the same layout, but they completely scrapped all that. They got rid of the flavor text that told you where the cryptids actually came from and all that stuff as well. Like, all the character and uniqueness that these cards had, they're just tossing it out the window. Absolutely tossing it out the window. And the same thing goes for the fourth wall abilities. I assume they get rid of these as well, but I always loved them. They made a lot of sense for a game about cryptids to have actual fourth wall abilities, right? Where your surroundings actually impact the game. And it was great for kitchen table play. Throw back a few beers with your friends and just have some fun. And if you don't want to allow them in like some competitive play, then just don't allow them in a tournament. It was that simple. Just don't allow them. But unfortunately, they get rid of them. I know it's made the game kind of look bad because some of those abilities were just off the wall crazy, but just tame them back. You know what I mean? I always imagine like these pseudo environments and like these massive venues with like crazy size volcanoes and waterfalls, and MetaZoo did that in a much smaller scale, but imagine doing that in like a Pokemon level scale. It would have been absolutely incredible, but you throw all that potential away now when you get rid of the fourth wall abilities. So to me, unfortunately, without Mike Waddell being on board, without him being a part of MetaZoo, MetaZoo just would have never been MetaZoo. That Black Swan event would have never happened. And I think it's becoming more and more clear day by day as we're seeing what's happening now, right? Because Charlie's coming in from the outside. He's like a big corporation that comes in and buys out a smaller guy and just never knew what actually made it special, what it was at its core. And unfortunately, he just doesn't know because he wasn't here during the mania of MetaZoo, right? So he's coming in from afar and he's just making these massive changes and just ruining it for everything it was. And now moving forward, the only only thing that's going to be good about this is it's going to continue the MetaZoo name for as long as it lasts. Other than that, there's just nothing else we're taking from this as OG fans. And again, maybe it appeals to the masses, but to me, I'm just not a fan of it, guys. I'm not a fan of it. I don't want to buy these things. I have no plans on buying any of this. I'm just so freaking pissed off from what I'm seeing. It looks so bad. It's not my MetaZoo whatsoever. You know what I mean? Again, should I be surprised? No, but I was just hoping for something better, guys. Some kind of mixture here. Would it still be some elements of the original that I would like? They're bringing back some of the original cryptid designs, you know what I mean? Some of the original artwork, and they're juxtaposing it with the new layouts, and it just looks so off. You know what I mean? DPD actually said to make them full arts. You know what I mean? Maybe look a little bit better, but what they're doing now, they just look so off to me when I see that stuff. And it's like, bro, just get rid of it. Completely get new artwork because it just doesn't look good. But I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. I love to hear what you guys have to say about it, though. Are you going to pick up some of these? Do you like the booster boxes? Do you like the new cards? I love to know, but for me, it's just a no from me, dog. It's just so freaking unfortunate. And to me, MetaZoo is now dead in 2025.
What the fuck?
That's ridiculous. I'm not using this thing. No. Somebody's confused. Somebody's just not thinking. I mean, there's no way.
We'll figure it out.
You guys never understood. You never understood the first thing about this.